Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wednesday here on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your host, Eric. This week we are talking about connecting with deity and your most powerful spells. So this week we are talking about our most potent or effective spells, and due to the fact that I don't call what I do spells, it's going to be a little different for me when I explain. And we also have a question about could we discuss some ways that we connect with the divine, patron deity, universe, whatever you prefer. So let's start with some of the, or at least the things that come to mind when I talk about the most potent magic that I do. Well, one, the most potent, in my opinion, magic that I do is divination. When I do divination, which I do more often than anything else, it is because either I have a question or somebody has asked me to give a reading to them or do some form of divination for them. Now, I'm always happy to do that when I have time and it's a possibility. So, divining or tapping into the divine guidance that is there is something that I find very powerful, and for many people, the experiences that they have with it are very profound. So outside of that, there are times where I will ask directly whether or not I can have something, or for help or assistance or information or knowledge, which I don't ever ask the gods to do anything for me that I am not willing to work for myself. That's kind of how manifestation works for me, is if I ask for it, I have to be willing to work for it. And that happens in everyday life and in large, milestones in life. I took the time before I met my wife to open myself to the idea of being okay with myself and being a single person before meeting someone. Once I felt like I was, in a contented, happy place by myself, I wound up meeting her at a completely random circumstance, and it kind of worked out. We were both in that same kind of place. So, that was definitely a profound thing in my life. But generally speaking, profound comes from, for me, profound is something that happens especially during divination. One of my favorite stories, and I may have told this story before, but oftentimes, and more often than not, when I do divination, as soon as I am finished with the reading, I will sum up the information that I've gathered from the runes and give that information to the person sitting across the table from me, and I'll write it down so they have kind of a really brief summary of what was said. And then as soon as I hand that card over to them, as soon as I give that information to them in a more concrete form than just talking, the information falls completely out of my head. There are very few exceptions, I should say, to this happening for me. One of which was a fantastic feeling that I still have when I go back to remember this instance. And I was doing a reading for a woman at the local 4th of July fair that I do every year. I'll be at, for those of you who might be interested, next month, I will be at the Sugar House 4th of July fair on Highland Drive between 11th South and Springfield Avenue, something like that. Might be Simpson Avenue. Anyway, but on the 4th of July, I'll be there. But I was there one year giving this woman a reading, and I don't remember the majority of the information. I do remember basically that she had spent so much time worrying about and taking care of others that she had neglected herself. And that's basically the only information that I had, other than this woman needed to start taking time and energy and spending it on herself and what she wanted, instead of just what the people around her were expecting of her. and she broke down into tears, and she was so ecstatic to have, I don't want to say justification, but reason enough to take care of herself, because she had spent so much time, and I didn't know this woman from Eve, but she had spent so much of her time and energy throughout the course of her life that she didn't know what to do now that her kids had all moved out of the house. I didn't know that was her question, but after the reading was over, she did mention to me that she didn't know what to do with herself anymore, because she didn't have any kids to take care of, and her husband is relatively, independent and doesn't need her to take care of him. But it was time for her to move on and to take care of herself. Outside of that, I don't remember anything about the reading, but I do remember feeling supremely satisfied in knowing that the information that I was able to give her was something that very possibly could change her life, and very possibly and hopefully for the better. So divination is one thing that, whether you call it a spell or a magical working or whatever you want to call it, I feel that it is very, or at least it can be, very profound. Now, the second question, sorry about me rattling my notes here, is about some of the ways we connect to the divine. Uh, the majority of the way that I do this is by talking to anyone who is willing to listen. Sometimes I will name a specific deity that I'm trying to talk to if I'm unhappy about the weather, which aren't we all oftentimes. I will talk to Thor, or I will talk to Freya and see if there's anything they're willing to give a little for me. And if not, I have to accept that. And if I need guidance or if I need help, I will ask any particular deity that I want. I will say things like, Odin, God of knowledge, I am seeking answers, and I would very much like your assistance if you would be willing to help me. Oftentimes it's not even that formal. It's just, I look up at the sky, because that's still where I associate the idea of gods, is in a place higher than myself. Or just out and about, I stare at the mountains, whatever I'm feeling moved to do, I will look out and go, this could be worse. Thanks. Or I could use a little help. That would be nice. Thank you. But more often than not, it's just me talking to any deity that may be listening. So those are a little bit of that's really all I do. I will call, when I'm in a ritual setting, I will call the deity by name and ask them to join me and ask them to be part of my ritual. But never demanding, obviously, because that's in my opinion a bad idea. But that's pretty much how I do it. Is I just talk to them and ask them to come and help and to do their thing while they're here with us. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to post those in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, everybody, and of course, until next time, Odin be with you.